Sprinting, I soon made it to the corner of Exchange Place, a narrow cut that linked Broad Street and William Street. High buildings loomed either side, shrouding the street in almost constant shadow. Snow was heaped against the buildings, and steam rose from a long vent. The assassin was about 100 yards ahead and moving quickly. I pushed harder, and my lungs burned with the effort as my legs rose and fell like pistons. Adrenaline and training were replaced by grim determination. This man had murdered my friend. Parking was restricted on the narrow street, and the only vehicle in sight was a solitary U.S. Postal Service truck that idled beside giant stone columns that marked the entrance of a huge skyscraper. The assassin jumped off the sidewalk and made straight for the driver's door. As he approached the vehicle, he glanced back, saw me, and opened fire. I ducked into a doorway as bullets whipped the air in front of me and buried themselves into the stonework to my rear. When I peered out, the assassin was pulling a female postal worker from the truck. He tossed her onto the street, jumped into the vehicle, and drove away. "Help!" the woman yelled as she got to her feet. "Someone help me!" She shook her head with resignation as the stolen truck took a right onto William Street. "Call the cops," I said breathlessly as I sprinted past her. When I reached the corner of William Street, I saw the postal truck no more than 100 yards away, fighting head-on traffic as it tried to drive the wrong direction down a one-way street. It was just after 9:30, but New York is a city where it's always rush hour, and the traffic had been made worse than usual by the heavy January snowfall. He gave up trying to clear a path through the traffic, and the truck suddenly lurched up onto the curb and started tearing along the sidewalk, forcing pedestrians to jump clear. I cast around and settled on a yellow cab waiting for a fare. The driver was watching two guys exchange farewells outside a coffee shop on the corner, and his impatient fingers tapped on the steering wheel. He didn't notice me until I pulled his door open. "What the?" he said, but my hands were already on the collar of his sheepskin jacket, and I yanked him out. "I need your vehicle," I told him as I pushed him away and jumped in. His fare was finally done with his goodbyes and tried to open the rear door as I pulled a U-turn. I saw his perplexed expression in the wing mirror as he watched his ride race away with the cab driver sprinting alongside, banging on the window and cursing with every step. I swung right, mounted the sidewalk, and lost the driver as they picked up speed. Up ahead, snow sprayed everywhere as the truck smashed through the piled drifts. Pedestrians dived out of the assassin's way, which gave me a clear run. I stepped on the gas, and the cab surged forward, closing the gap between the two vehicles. The postal truck turned a bend and caught a patch of black ice, which sent it fishtailing out of control. The back end swung wildly and fell off the sidewalk, clipping a car that was waiting in traffic. The collision cost the truck its back bumper, and the assassin lost valuable momentum. It gave me the chance to get within yards of him before he got going again. The driver of the car he'd hit got out of his vehicle and turned the air blue with angry shouts, but the postal truck lurched back onto the sidewalk and raced on. When it reached the intersection with Beaver Street, the truck hopped off the curb and almost collided with an oncoming cab. The truck veered across the intersection and mounted the sidewalk on the east of William Street. I followed and crossed Beaver Street in front of the startled cab driver before steering my vehicle onto the west sidewalk. I stepped on the gas and drew level with the assassin, the two of us racing each other on opposite sides of the street. I kept my hand on the horn in an attempt to warn oncoming pedestrians as they leaped into doorways or onto the street. The assassin took more risks than me and didn't care about hitting anyone, but the truck was slower than the cab, so we were pretty evenly matched. Up ahead, I saw a delivery truck, double parked, blocking the northbound traffic on William Street, and realized it presented me with an opportunity.